This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise
Accountability
together.
starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Gay down.
Good morning. I got my favorite mug today. Good morning, Vincent.
Hey, good morning, Eric.
Can you see my mug? Can you see
Oh,
it? Wait a minute.
there we go.
Uh,
Minding my own black business.
that's my mug.
Bring it down.
Hey, listen, man. I drink that all day, minding my own black business. Right? Um, or minding my own black business or minding my black owned business. Right? This is minding my black owned business, but
Own
I'm
business.
minding my own black business too. Oh gosh. Hey, listen, man. We're gonna they said a little more snow today, and then tomorrow we're gonna experience a little heat wave. Right? It's gonna get to 50, and it's gonna be at least above 40 for the next couple days. Right?
I'll
So,
put it,
huh?
think I might put the top down on a convertible.
Hey, man. Listen, I may go out in my speedo.
That is just the image everybody needs burning in
Right?
their mind.
Shock a lot of people. But no, it's supposed to be 48 tomorrow. The high is 48 tomorrow, 45 on Thursday, and 46 Friday, and 55 Saturday, 50 on Sunday, and 52 on Monday. So I think anything above 45 in the winter, right, over 3 or 4 consecutive days should be considered a winter heat wave, right? So I'm gonna say that we're in a heat wave. And the thing that excites me, Vincent, is we're literally only like what 6 weeks away or something like that
Spring.
from glory. Like six weeks from glory, man. Today is the 23rd of February, and yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? I'm trying to go through my calendar to look at it. 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so 6 weeks puts us at April 13th. So let's get through 6 more weeks of this, guys. And have you noticed at like 5:40, it's still light outside,
Yes, the days are getting longer and the nights are getting shorter.
right? So there are things to be grateful for, guys, in the midst of all that is going, seems to be going awry. So, um,
Yeah, well, when spring hits, I think I'll put my Lou Rawls songs on.
what is your Lou Rawls song?
It's spring again. The grass is turning green again.
I can't wait. Before when the summer and spring is here, and folks don't know this, you know it because we speak before the show. Um, I go outside in the back and I curl up in my hammock for about an hour and a half, like in the warm weather. So I get out there at 5:45 in the morning because the sun is like out. And I have my cup of coffee and like I said, I lay in my hammock, I put on some jazz and I just kind of ease into the day. With it being cold and snow on the ground, I can't get, I don't have my groove yet. I guess that's it. But
No.
but it'll come.
But I go to the gym, come back, relax with my cup of coffee, and then start easing into my day.
Oh, yeah, Edward something says, yeah, legalize marijuana. Yeah, we're going to talk about that today. We're going to talk about and who the winners and losers are, right? I think that is the biggest thing to talk about. Oh, it tells me that my video is compromised right now. Oh, there we go. There we go. So I'm on. So we're going to talk about that today. I want to talk about Vincent and I had And I should have titled the show this, right? What is normal? We were talking about that today before the show, right? And again, just baseline, just coming to agreement on some baseline things about what's normal, right? And it'll tie into the marijuana discussion because once we understand what is normal, right? The question is whether or not we're fighting to tear down the norms. And if we're not fighting to tear down the norms, because there's certainly people who want to keep the current norms as norms, then why would we expect, if we're not really working to tear them down, for there to be any equity or equitability or equality or justice as we move forward with this legalization of marijuana or anything else? Why would we expect a different outcome, right? If we don't understand what is normal and what is normal, meaning what is expected. And so I looked up the definition of normal. I mean, we all kind of have a sense of what it means, right? But, to just get to the actual definition. Normal, let's see, conforming to a standard, right? So what is the standard? Right? Whether you like it or not, right? That's not the question. The question is, what is the current standard, right? What is normal? Or what is usual? Usual. What is the standard? What is usual? What is typical? What typically happens is what's considered normal, right? Or what's expected.
There, and the conversation begins.
So let's start there. What's expected?
Expectations depend upon the actual stimulus in which and the metrics in which you're looking for.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. But what is the normal thinking, right? Because we're saying what we're looking for. So what is the normal thought process? And then what is that derived from? Right? Because on the show, we talk about socially transmitted diseases. We talk about socializing. We talk about all these different things. And so if we are a product of those things, right, then wouldn't we say that these things are normal? They shouldn't be normal, but they are normal. And that our perspectives, though as real as they are, because it's what we're living, that it's skewed, right, because of systems that have been put in place to have us believe and behave in a way that shouldn't be normal.
Well, therein lies, or the big part of our conversation this morning. What shouldn't be normal becomes a new norm, or what shouldn't be normal is the deviation from the norm. But for those people in that particular environment, it is their norm or normal. Like the guy, the professor yesterday, who looked at the simple fact of legalizing heroin. Heroin, which legalizing is not normal, or since it's not legal, it's not normal in terms of its constant use. Yet he has done it at so much that he has done so much of the deviation of that norm that it has now become his new norm, and he wants to expand it to be everyone's new norm.
Right, but we're not talking about. I mean, each person may have, and we talked about this morning. Each individual may have a normal for them, right? But we operate on teams here. We win as teams and we lose as teams, right? And so the normal for the team. So yeah, so society does not deem heroin use to be normal.
Right.
Right? So, we live in a society. group, right? Social mores don't dictate that um, heroin use is normal. So though you may have somebody, I mean, look, you had Manson think that killing people was normal, right? Doesn't make it normal. I mean,
Well,
to him, right, it makes him dysfunctional in a system, right? Whereas teams, we determine what's normal, not what's right. See, what's right is different. We're not talking about what's right.
or determine what is to be the new normal. So, well, actually looking at Hansen and reading the books about Hansen thought that what he was looking for, pushing for, was helter skelter, or the actual war, the rebirth of the race riots and race wars, because he thought that that would bring us to that level of norm. So in doing that, he did something very unnormal in killing people and then trying to frame black people for the murder.
Right. So,
So,
mhm.
uh,
So do we consider, like, I mean, Eric Garner, Mike Brown, go all the way back to Rodney King, to me, right? Do we consider that to be normal?
it was vastly becoming a normal. It was a deviation that started as such a regular pattern that we started to get a little desensitized to that normal.
No. But what I'm asking is this. Let's go back to the definition, right? Is it standard? Right?
Well,
Is it usual? Is it typical? Is it expected?
correct. And
Right?
which
So when you tell your black kid, your black son, hey, listen, when you get ready to go out, or you get ready to get in your car, or you get ready to do whatever, go to live your life, here are some things that you need to carry with you in terms of your thought process. Right? Right? So is it because we expect something? Is it because something is typical or typically happens? And so we prepare for it? That's what I'm saying. So normal.
yes, we
Right.
prepared for that deviation of the norm.
No. Why is it? See, this is what I'm saying. So I want to be careful, right? Deviation. I'm saying, what are we deviating from?
Well, we're deviating from the norm.
What is the norm? So that's what I'm saying. So what is the norm?
Okay, well, here was the norm in that situation.
No. I'm not talking about the situation. I'm talking about in general. What is the norm? What is the norm? What is the not? See, I'm not talking about individual situations. See, I don't want to go to individual situations, right? Because individual situations, I'm saying just typically speaking, what is the norm?
Now, Eric,
Yes.
there is a part of the norm that has to do with, there is a part of the norm that is very basic and general, which is all inclusive. And then there's a part of the norm that has to do with environment and social settings. Case in point, when I got married, there was a big thing of deviation from the norm because my wife squeezes the toothpaste from the center of the tube.
No. See, you
And
no.
no. So that's what I'm saying. So to both of us, it is the norm for
No,
us to do it.
no.
It's the deviation for others.
Vincent.
Now, when you, Eric, let me finish, please.
But
So, Eric, there was a total different norm involved in terms of what was going on with them killing black people, or blacks dying at the hands of the police. Now, the norm in terms of society in general is that you do not expect your child or yourself to get pulled over and then shot or choked to death by a police officer.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
But
Stop for a second.
wait a minute.
No, wait a minute.
Listen,
But Vincent, you're saying a bunch of.
Eric, please let me finish because I don't want to go down a rabbit hole. So let me be complete with my definition and explaining.
All right.
Okay, so, but in the black community, it is a norm to the point where I got the speech that my great grandfather gave my father about how to act when a police pulls you over or when you're addressing white people.
Okay, so the reason I try to pause you is because you say a lot of stuff and then I got to go back and try. So when you say it's not expected, that's not true. So when you go back and look and they say, what was the life expectancy of a black male? Life expectancy. So when you use the term, you say, nobody expected, that's not true. They have statistics out there that say, here's the life expectancy. Here's what's expected of a third grade black person being railroaded into the school to prison pipeline. These are all expected. Expected. Wait a minute. So when you use, I'm gonna let you finish, but when you say not expected, because that's what you just said, it's not expected. That's not true. It is expected.
Eric.
Yes.
Again, in terms of society, it is not an expectation. But in terms of the black society, there is the difference. It is expected.
That's not okay. Again, you're false because because it's not the black people who are building these prisons. It's not the black businesses that are building cottage industries around the prisons. It's all those people who are looking at the data. And based on the data, they say, you know what? We're going to invest in laundromats to make to wash sheets, or we're going to invest in catering companies to provide food for these prisons. We're going to invest in all these different. Those are not black people. Those are not black people who are doing that. So they're expecting an outcome based on normal, right? Or I'm going to use the definitions in here, usual or typical things.
Now, again, Eric, you're entering in another part to the metrics, which basically takes us down a rabbit hole. So, again, Eric, in terms of going out and driving, and in terms of using Trayvon Martin and all of those who have suffered under the hands, the normal basis of society is that it is not normal to send your child out and no one has the expectation that he's going to be killed by a police officer.
No,
Okay?
see, I think we're getting the definition mixed up again. Normal and right are two different things. See, what's normal is what's expected. What's normal is what's usual. What's normal is what's typical.
Eric,
See,
when a white man sends his child out to play, he has a normal expectation that the child will not be killed by the cop.
that's right.
However, when a black man sends his child outside, when a black child is outside of the house, there is the fear that there's the fear that deviation from the norm may happen to them. So they give
No,
them
see,
the
again,
to reduce it.
again, there is no, look, so during slavery, when we talked about this before the show, it was normal for an enslaved African or a descendant of kidnapped Africans to be strung to a tree and beaten with a whip. Now, it wasn't right, but it was normal, right? It was something that was expected, right? It was something that was usual, something that was typical, right? They weren't deviating from the norm. It was the norm, right? Can we agree to that? Are you really thinking about this?
Yes, I am.
Wow.
I think, okay, for the sake of the conversation, yeah, I'm agreeing.
Well, no, okay. For the sake of the conversation, it was a norm. And so if we go back to the Willie Lynch letter and the making of a slave, it was a norm, right? There was a blueprint. There was an expected outcome, right? That they were going to be able to continue to enslave people and that they were going to be able to control them. And these were the means under which they were going to. So it was normal. Like literally to be on the fence about that concerns me. It was normal. It wasn't right. So that's what I'm saying. I want to I want to deal with normal, right? And I think that part of the confusion is, well, it's not right to do that. And I agree, it's not right. But it was normal, meaning it was typical. It was something to be expected. We'll continue this in a second. Call or go.
Hey, good morning, Harry. Good morning, Vincent. How are you guys?
Hey, good morning.
I think you're having a very cogent conversation because, let's face it, normal is not what's really going on in America today. And I'll explain what that means, what I mean by that. Black people have an opportunity, in my opinion, to shake up the normal. If you look at what's going on with the protests, if you look at the way black people want to, or some black people want to direct policy, I have to say that this is probably the best time since Reconstruction that we can shake up normal. Normal is sending your kids out with the instructions that you need to do X, Y, and Z if you're accosted by the police. Normal is what was back in the day when slave patrols were able to go and just, disrupt your life. Even if you had, the permission, if you will, by your so-called owners to be out and about, they still, through white supremacy and through, the slavery system, and just do whatever they want to do to you. They can still do that, but they have to do it in a different way now. And that's normal. It's always been that we were able to be accosted, our women, we could be beat to, senseless. I mean, if you think normal is all those things that we're talking about. And again, I think if, having these conversations as black people or descendants of the ex-enslaved people,
Hey, Eric, yeah.
have a great opportunity to,
Eric, something happened to your phone.
going on in this normal, that we deal with. I also think that we have to look at changing the way the Constitution is activated in our lives, because it's not just the Constitution. It's the fact that we live under a racist society. It's the fact that meritocracy has made us believe that, we can have a fair shake of this thing, when quite frankly it's not, because the meritocracy are like supremacists. So normal is being a pacified. Normal is not being able to get help from the government in the fact of laws that are on the books. That's normal. So I think we're fighting against normal to create a new democracy. But as it stands, we're still in a white supremacist normalcy.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Right. So we heard most of what you said, but your audio started to fail you toward the end. So I think that because here's my concern. When we look at these different situations that occur, right? Whether we go back to one of the first atrocities that was videotaped, right, which was Rodney King, right, being beaten by the police, and that was videotaped. And there were folks who said, you know what, finally, we got to show this on video. Finally, people got to see what we were experiencing in our communities that we continue to talk about. Finally, the whole world gets to see this stuff. And they were working to convince us that this was an anomaly, right? That this wasn't a regular occurrence, right? It was something that just happened to happen. And when we look at the media, and I want you to understand this about the media, right? So Rodney King, separate incident from what they say is normal, right? Tamir Rice, oh wow, we became outraged because that young man was gunned down. And we say, oh, that was an isolated incident, right? Because that's how they try to isolate it, and then go down the line and kept saying isolated. But the magnitude at which things are happening now in social media shows us that they're not isolated, right? It is part of something else, right? And
It continued to be a pattern, which took away the theory of isolation.
Right.
Isolation means that it's one particular incident. When it continued to happen, it became the pattern of normality.
Right. Well, so right. So when I'm right. So it is the thing that And so it is the thing where black families talked about how they had to precondition their children for this normal, right, unjust but normal existence here. It was, thought by other people because this is what the media was pushing out there, right? You guys are making this up. This isn't real. This isn't what happens, right? White folks, because they didn't see it or they didn't want to see it, told black folks stop belly aching, stop complaining. Things are not that bad. Nothing's really happening. You guys are just a bunch of whiners, right? And then that same media wasn't really and still doesn't focus on what is normal in America, right? What is so dysfunctional in America. They focus on portraying black faces as criminals, right? And in these other stereotypes that lead to this continued division that says, no, you guys got all wrong. This really isn't normal. These things are happening because this is who you are. Right? You're criminals. And so we have to respond to you this way. You guys are prone to do these kinds of things. And so we have to militarize our police to be prepared for you, right? We have to lock you out of our communities because what we see on the media is this. That's all normal. That is all normal. Now, it's all wrong.
That they had towards the black condition or keeping them oppressed was considered their normal. That's why they desensitize everybody with all of this police violence, but because they heard that norm so much that they said he must have deserved it because he was doing something wrong.
Right. And so my question is, because I'm trying to lead us somewhere, right? So if we get out of the habit of looking at these things as isolated instances, and we look at them as a result of a system, right, that is constantly pushing this as normal, right, and working to convince us that we don't see and experience what we actually see and experience. If we're not in that place where we're pushing back and fighting against that, then we'll continue to look at things with a hope, right? Because we're not working to tear this thing down. So we're looking at things with a hope that somehow things are going to change, right? But they won't change unless we disrupt, like Eric said, this system that is pushing out this distorted view of what should be normal, right? So when I look at things like the legalization of, well, before we get to that, so the young man, what was his name? Elijah, out of Colorado. I posted his story on my page this morning. I'm gonna get to him. Elijah McClain's, right? Elijah McClain, rather. Young man who was accosted by police for nothing. Nothing. They had nothing. They didn't charge him. They didn't accuse him of anything. They just detained him, and then ultimately, they subdued him by injecting him with a sedative, right? And they overdosed him, and then a day or so later he died. Right?
Sounds like police patrol to me.
Right. But what I'm saying is this: when we look at that, we are told to look at that in isolation. Like, well, yeah, that happened to him, but this isn't how police are, or this isn't how our system. I'm sorry?
This is an extenuating circumstance.
Yeah, this is an extenuating circumstance, people. So calm down. We're going to deal with this circumstance. And I'm going, no, it is not. This is all baked in. Right? This is just another man.
You said something real cogent earlier, and the fact is the media, they portray that. They're the ones who say what's normal in the community that everyone will say yes or no to. That's why the fake news thing was such a big thing with this Trump, because at the end of the day, if the media says something and 90% of the people believe it, that helps to reinforce what it is that they've been trying to do all along, which is make sure that white supremacy continues to be the norm. Period. I mean, come on now.
Well, let's look at white supremacy.
I need an amen.
Amen.
White supremacy who direct the media. Now there is a $14 billion lawsuit that the company that made the election ballots and the programming is now suing Fox News because of them putting out fake news and saying that the computers were rigged to cheat Trump out of the election.
Yeah, but think about it like this, Vince. They can't refute when that cop shot that kid in the back and killed him like a few years back. They can't refute the cops arresting this little kid and shooting him because he had a water gun. They can't refute Rodney King. They can't refute, putting their knee on the neck. See, the media...
No, but you know what they do? But what they do is, again... They get that's right, George Floyd, Sandra Bland. We can go down the list of them, right? But they keep telling you, hey, look, that was an isolated incident. That was an isolated incident. There was extenuating circumstances. There were this and the other. Oh, we're going to send these people to sensitivity training. Oh, we're going to do this with these people. Oh, we're going to do, like, with these individuals, right? So they tell you, they chase you down they get you chasing these individuals, right? Which is why I keep saying, like, no. Let us not focus on individuals. Let us focus on the system, right? The system, because the system is continuing to pump them out. And until you deal with the system, right, there's going to be another person killed, another one killed, and then they're going to say, hey, let's focus on whether we should fire that person. Right? Fire that police officer. I'm not saying fire the police officer. I'm saying tear the whole system down.
Correct. I mean, Eric, let me ask you a question.
Yep.
Did you see the post where there was a brother with his kids going out into the community, which was a white community that he lived in, to form a neighborhood block association of sorts, and was getting names? Somebody called on him, and he was accosted by the police in front of his children, in front of one of his neighbors, and it all was caught on video camera. The neighbors, what they call it, the bell where you can see everything, and they were recording this, and the police is just violating this man's rights. They arrest him, take him downtown, because he was out in the community and got a call from a white citizen. That's normal.
Right.
That's normal.
So what is normal? And let us be clear about this. What is normal is that they receive the benefit of the doubt, right? And we don't. That's normal. Now, it's not right. So I want to separate the two things. It's not right. I get that. But it is the norm. And so when we see a Karen or when we see a Becky, why are we surprised? Why are we shocked? It is the norm. It is the world that we're living in right now, or the America that we're living in. And we have to stop being surprised and shocked by it. Like, it drives me nuts when people are like, oh my God, can you believe he did that? To me, it's like you being in a...
Think about that slave. Think about that slave on the plantation when when one of the members of the enslaved were flogged, or whatever you want to call it, in front of everybody. That started it. I mean, you think about it. We sat there as a group and watched ourselves be dismantled in front of ourselves, and we did nothing. We felt powerless to do anything about it. And it's that same norm that happens today. Yeah, we'll say something, we'll get upset about it, we'll march, but we don't really look at why it's still happening and what we could do to change it. That's the problem.
I mean, I want you to think about this. When Rodney King, people believed that after finally having it on videotape, that was going to be it. That was going to be it, right? We got video now. The world is going to change. America's going to change because we got it on videotape now. We now realize...
I started believing this way, Eric. I started believing this way
when, I hate to bring him up, but when Trump said, grab him by the pussy, excuse my French, when he said that, and there was not a visceral reaction from the whole country, and he ultimately got elected, that let me know right there, there is nothing that we could do to join this, because it's against us. It's showing itself to be against us, and we're still not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
And
Well, you know what they say? So here's what it says, right? The system says, prove it. Prove it. So you say, oh, they did this to me. Prove it. And then when you prove it, they go, nah. That's not that. No. We need more.
Evidence is insufficient.
That's right. We need more. We need more. We need more. And then we finally got to video and audio, right? That said, here they are on camera, doing and saying what we said. They go, nah.
Okay, now let me add another drip to that, E. The people who are responsible for these atrocities, the police, the slave patrol, whatever you want to call them, they are not held accountable, and that is also normal.
Yes.
They're not held accountable. Our lives aren't worth anything.
There you go. There you go.
Simple.
It has been normalized because there is no accountability for the atrocity. And then we sit up there, and even when we get up and fight, we fight it an exercise in fertility. Because no matter how much we fight or what we do, there is no justice for their injustice.
Correct. So how do we change that?
Well, because so what I'm saying to you is this, right? Because I think that we're looking at the individual instances, right? We've been taught to look at the individual
instances. We're looking at all the incidents that have the same outcome.
But I don't believe so. I believe that we are looking at the like I started to show, and you said no, this isn't normal, and I'm like, no, it is normal, right? So to look at everything, to look at all of them, and saying this is not isolated, right? This is conspiratorial, right?
Correct.
This is so when we start looking at it like that, we start looking and so see, because for me, at the point that you start going down that avenue, right, and then you start looking and saying, well, who's culpable in this, right? Where does a conspiracy lie? Then you start talking about class action suits against the government, right? Not against an individual or like trying to fire a police officer. This thing begins to rise to another level, right? Where it becomes these people against the United States of America, right? In terms of what it is doing. But we're not even in those conversations yet, because I think that we don't perceive this thing to be normal. Right? We've been conditioned by the media and others to think that these are isolated instances where, you go fight over on that front, you go fight over on that front. And so we're divided in our fight, right? And I think that we need to focus more on understanding, one, that this is the normal, right? This is this is America. This is what they do. This is how they do it.
Well, Eric, you said yesterday, quite eloquently, by the way, that the president, Biden, he says he wants to get back to that. He wants to get back to normal. And when somebody hears that, I believe if a black person hears that, what they hear is, here's a guy that wants to help us in our fight, but getting us back to normalcy doesn't help us in our fight at all. How does that help us getting back to being a second-class citizen? You tell me that, Eric.
No, well, if we're going to quote Biden, he says he wants to build back better. Not build back, but build it back better.
Okay, I get what you're saying, and you could slant it that way, but he also said we want to get back to normal. We want to put things back in place.
Right.
We want to have our allies back on our side the way it was prior to Trump. We want all of these things. That's normalcy to him. It's normal to where you have
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
And that part is what changed in, I think, mid-swing of his campaign.
where he got to build back better. Because when they were talking about getting us back to norm in terms of the COVID, where everybody, a lot of Black America was like, we don't want the norm, we want better. We want we want more than what it was. We want it better than what it can, better to what it can.
I can go with that. And I do believe that there is a swell of support for that sentiment. But when you break it down, brother, he backpedals on his $15. He might want that in his heart, but he's allowing the system to do what the system was designed to do, which is keep us down and allow white supremacy to have its say and its will. Done. Period. I mean, $15. You're a trillionaire and you're worrying about paying somebody that works for you $15. It doesn't make sense to me. You're worried about giving somebody black $600 and to help get through this pandemic, to the point where you crush your own people and send $300 out to everybody. That's the main thing behind that. It wasn't that they don't have the money.
Let's be clear. The 600 and the 300 and all of those weren't under Biden administration. Those were under Trump administration.
But hear me out.
Right, but I think,
he backpedaled on that. When he got in office, he was the one able to put that money out there, and he didn't based on what is normal in the votes that goes on in the Senate and in the House. They knew that they weren't going to do it. They said it beforehand, and it's all political, of course. But my point is, when was the last time you seen the government give a black man any type of financial assistance off the cuff? Name once.
Well,
Name once.
Well, let's look at the financial assistance that went to a majority of people, including black people, was the stimulus package. However,
that's what I'm talking about.
And this is where I disagree with that stimulus package.
So I don't know why we got disconnected, but I'm trying to bring Vincent back on now. So hopefully
Vincent's back on.
Okay, and then hopefully we'll get Eric back on in a second. So Eric, I'm not sure what happened, but go ahead. You said you disagree with the stimulus package?
Of the stimulus package, of the $2.6 trillion that went out. Okay, we're talking about roughly 1.9 trillion that went to large corporations.
Groups who really could, who made up their money in 3 months. And the common man is still suffering.
All right. I got cut off. I'm sorry.
I didn't agree with the distribution of the stimulus package, period. In fact, let me quote what I said when they were first talking about it. That is the biggest slap in the face of Reagan giving everybody that government cheese.
I just, for me, again, I want to make sure that when we're looking at this stuff, when we're analyzing what's going on, that, we're not delusional in understanding, the current climate, right? And the climate is that, the way that, and so because when I saw the whole marijuana thing in New Jersey and the wrangling around, who was going to benefit, who was going to suffer from it, whether or not the bottom community was going to receive some sort of restorative justice as a result of it. Hold on, let's see if I can get this call in. Some restorative justice as a result of it. I'm looking, going, nothing has changed with the system. So I'm not sure how all of those people who are millionaires and billionaires who have been socialized, conditioned to consider us to be commodities to their wealth and to their power, how anything in their thinking is going to change. And then if the infrastructure isn't in place for us to have people who are fighting on our behalf, who are willing to make sacrifices on our behalf, then I'm going, okay, you're going to have a bunch of people, in 2 or 3 years, shaking their head at what's going on in terms of the legalization of marijuana and going, black people got the shitty end of the stick again. And they're going to be shocked by it. But I'm going to say, look, it's normal. Call or go.
I think it's important, too, that we don't cherry pick, right? That we don't, we recognize it is a system, that Biden is the system. He is a part of the system. He did have something to do with the last stimulus. He did pull back on that. And when we start acting as if the system isn't the system, that now we're going to start saying better parts of the system. That system is divine, and that system stands. And he's just a moving piece of that system. So the language started changing. Exactly. That conversation, right? Then it was, oh, he said he wanted to build better. No, he said he wanted to go back to the soul of America. Let's not forget that, right? But because we've already smashed that and said that was going back to what? Were we going back to? That we've already been here. So now we change it. We codify the language. That's the system, right? He is a part of that system. And we have to figure out a way to kill that system, even if he's a part of that death. Because anyone who believes that anyone in charge of this system is trying to fix our issues is so sadly mistaken. It's just not true. We can go over incidents after and policy after policy, but in these last 45 days that says, and he's a part of the system, right? We talked about it yesterday. I want to make community college free. Like every black person wants to send their child to a community college. No, that's the system, right? I just, I listened to you guys, and I kind of wanted to stay out of it because, 3 men talking, and okay. But no, do not give him any passes. He is a part of that system.
So let me ask you a question, Jody. So when we say, because we attribute a lot to Biden in terms of messaging, right? What his plan, 100-day plan is, and how he, changes from restore the soul of America to build back better to all these different things. Do we all agree that behind Biden, hidden somewhere behind the curtain, is a group of people who are hired to test messaging, right?
Messaging.
Right? They're hired to test it, right? They poll it, and then they come back and they say in a room, this will work, that won't work. And then they pivot based on what they believe will sell. Right? Because I think that when we look and say, well, Biden stepped out and said this, right? Then what we're saying to people is that Biden, of his own volition, just kind of sat there somewhere in the Oval Office or somewhere and said, hey, you know what? This is what I believe. As opposed to saying, no, you know what? This was well crafted, right? They sit in a room and they make a decision about this stuff and they say, this is what we're going to now sell them. And then they go pitch it. Right, and then they go and they check the all of the polls and stuff. They watch the news cycle. They see what the responses are, and then make a determination again whether they need to pivot or not. Right, because we're giving this sincerity. Right, we're just giving the benefit of the doubt, this sincerity to this administration that says, you know what, they're not conniving. Right? They're not manipulative, right? And I just want to be careful about that.
Well, I can agree that every politician, in fact, just about everybody that deals with public relations, does a speech analysis and test, because there are key triggers that you don't want, and they do, and a lot of times are largely pragmatic. However, I don't believe in my heart that it is done to be negative towards a group of people, but I do believe that it is targeted to reach the understanding of a particular group of people. You can't demonize marketing, research, and analysis to increase your message. And the only demonizing about that is the content of the message. Now we don't.
So listen. Every time someone goes in this room, right? Let's be specific, right? Someone's giving black messaging, right? You're teaching him black messaging, right? And that in itself is deviant, right? That we understand, or someone's telling him, this is what they need to hear this month, okay? And this is what they need to hear this week. And according to what's going on in the news cycle, right, this is how we have to promote it this time. That in itself, one says that they have recognized, and let's be honest, Eric, you and I have talked about this. Black people love a messaging, right? They have now the system, the establishment, however you will fulfill that out, right? They have recognized that you can message black people right into what you need them to do, right? That is our failure. That's our failure for being so cognizant and needy of the message, right? But at the end of the day, right now, listen, yesterday, they did the Senate hearings on the new Attorney General, right? And it was one big black conversation. I don't know if anyone watched, but I watched it last night and watched it from start to finish, right? It was one big black conversation. They've had John Kennedy, right, asking from Louisiana, asking him, well, am I a racist? And what is a racist? And what is institutional racism, right? They had a big black conversation yesterday for a hearing for the new Attorney General, right? Him and Corey had their little moment where they cried and had a couple of tears off about how they felt about this whole situation. Listen, we've come to a time now in this country, right, where at the very least, they've decided that it's a discussion. It's worth a discussion, right? Not that it's worth movement, but just that discussion.
Well, you know what I find interesting too, Jody? What I find interesting is this. You've had people, right, below the radar, trying to find, different platforms to be able to talk openly about these issues, right? And we've been...
What's wrong with y'all?
I'm sorry? Oh, and so to talk about these issues, right? And we've been denied larger platforms. And those very people who've denied us those larger platforms, their platforms to be able to talk openly and honestly about these issues, now all of a sudden they become experts on these issues. Now, they still haven't invited those people who have had these platforms and these huge followings that have been literally for decades talking about these issues. So that same media now that you say you watch and they're talking about, they're talking about black issues and am I a racist and am I whatever? Those people, I'm going to ask you to mute your phone, E. I hear a conversation. So those same people who were suppressing the voices around these conversations now say they want to be the experts and they have their finger on the pulse of it. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? They all need to be removed because we need to. So what I say is this: we need to go and hold them all accountable, right? We need to say, hey, listen, this conversation's been going on for decades. And why haven't you had these people on? Why haven't you been talking about it for decades? Why'd you just start talking about it? Nobody's having that conversation and holding them accountable. But you know what? But we look and go, oh, see, they're talking about it.
Here is one important thing to give some consideration to. Are you upset about them talking about it now, or should you be celebrating that we finally get that media time?
No,
to,
I am. Well,
to
I'm
expose?
gonna answer the question for you. I am concerned, deeply concerned that those were the people who silenced the voices of those who were crying out for justice for all of these decades. And now we celebrate them, right, for being the conduit or being the arbiters of telling our story. That's crazy. That's like the abuser. That's like the abuser, right? We look and go, well, you know, the abuser abused us. They raped and brutalized us, right? They didn't allow us to talk about these things. And now we're going to let the abuser talk about whether or not he or she is actually an abuser or not.
Well, Eric, here is the thing. Now, it's true that, 50 years ago, they were silencing a lot of the black voice. That is true. During the 60s, they silenced the black voice. That is true. Now we are at 2020. No. Now we're at 2021, and Eric just admitted that, okay, now they're talking about the black condition.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
I want to ask you one question.
No,
But I got one.
Yes, it is. It is a long time.
Listen, I want to ask you one question.
Let's take advantage of the.
I want to ask you a question. But I want to ask you a question, right? Minister Louis Farrakhan, when's the last time you saw him on MSNBC? I'll wait. See, so when Eric says that they're still doing it, see, they allow the ones that are palatable to come on. But those who will disrupt, they keep off. Still happening.
Absolutely.
Come on now.
Okay, but okay. So what you're saying is that
I said what I said.
letting on the people, they're only bringing the black people onto the media that you don't like.
No, I'm saying that they're bringing on the ones who are palatable.
Eric, are you upset about the messenger, or should you rather be focusing on the message?
No. See, because the messenger.
No,
See,
the message isn't important because at the end of the day, the message is a white supremacist message.
Thank you. They're controlling it all. So when they have an Al Charlatan, right, that they give a show to, they're giving Al Charlatan a show. You know what? So to me, you know what? Unleash.
But Eric, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but you think about that. He was the bane of their existence for 20 years. 20 years. He was the bane of white supremacy of existence. They hated him. Now he's chums with him, and they go on TV every day and they talk about black issues. Really? Now I like Sharpton. Don't get me wrong. Because at the end of the day, I believe that in totality, he is doing as much as a person in a position to do, I think. But I think that him joining forces with them and then allowing himself to be censored the way he's being censored, because he can't say everything that he wants to say or he should say, then, I got to look at his motivation behind that.
So, Eric, you know what I would argue? Just a big thing.
Yes.
Just the opposite, right? That they caught on before we caught on that he was trash.
Right.
Before we caught on that he did not have our best motivation at heart, right? That he was purely working from a place of self-interest, right? So that's the truth.
Well, see, that's where they trap us, sister. That individualism, that meritocracy, that they trap us with. Oh, well, if you can sing, or if you can dance, or you can dance, or if you can learn how to do numbers in my business, that's what.
So I want to, but I want to ask this quick. But this is the question I'm asking. But this is the question I'm asking, Vincent. So, Dr. Cornell West, Why doesn't he have his segment on MSNBC?
Well, Cornel West actually had a lot of segments on PBS.
No. I'm not talking about PBS.
Eric. Now, and I say that to say this. I have no idea why Cornel West.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
I do.
Okay.
I'm raising my hand. I know.
Tell me why Cornel West doesn't have his segment on MSNBC.
Because he would attack white fragility. Right? Yeah. He would have very raw conversations. Right? He wouldn't make people feel comfortable. He would have all those white folks up on that at that desk feeling very, very uncomfortable. Right? Al Sharpton doesn't. And that's why but he is a black face. And so what he does is he calms down and he keeps under control the white fragility, right? Makes them feel comfortable, doesn't make them feel like they're doing anything wrong. As long as you're a nice white person, you're okay, right? And then on the black side, he allows them to say to our community, see, we have a black face up here for you. Right? So that's what they do. And so what I'm saying is, we tolerate that.
That's one of the things that they do. But also, you have to look at a few things. All right? Al Sharpton may have toned down some of his some of his words, but his message is still the same.
No, it's not.
It's not. Yes, it is.
What's his message?
Sharpton's message was the same that I saw on MSNBC as I heard on his Black Action Network on Urban Views Sirius XM.
So you know what? Can I tell you something? So here's
What he did do was make it palatable for white people to absorb it, but or to digest it. But it's still the same.
Listen. I'm gonna tell you this right now, and this is stuff that I know, right? So right now, that guy that you want to hold in high esteem is pimping the community in Newark, right? He's got a dysfunctional tech center over there on Hawthorne Avenue that he's getting money from the city for, that's producing nothing for black people. Nothing, Vincent. Nothing. Nothing.
Mm-hmm. And then, Eric, this is what this is my suggestion for you. Why don't you go have a meeting with him and tell him that you're tired of pimping the city, and that if he has that community center, that he should be productive.
No, but it no. Right. So then that's the funny part, right? So instead of wait a minute. So that's the funny part, right? So you divorce your whole self from that, right, Vincent? You go, Eric. Okay, you go do this thing. You didn't say, oh shit, let's go pick up arms and go attack this motherfucker. That's not what you said. You said, hey, Eric, then you go do that.
Eric. And you want to know the reason why I said that? Because Eric said, this is what I know for a fact.
Right.
This is what.
So you say, then you go do it.
And Vincent doesn't know that.
But I just told you.
If Eric knows that, get off of his black you-know-what, go on down there, smack Al upside the head.
No, you know what, Vincent? Vincent, but you know what? Wait a minute. But Vincent, I've been doing that for the last... Wait, Eric, stop for a second. Vincent, I've been doing that for the last 4 years. I need you to come with me now.
Oh, okay. You want to go with you? Okay, this is what we're doing.
Wait, no. Just say okay. Wait a minute. Just say okay. Just say okay. Just say okay.
Eric, calm down.
No, I just want you to say okay or move out the way. Just wait a minute. No, just say okay or move out of the way.
Eric, could you stick a piece of bread in your mouth so I can get a word in?
No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm saying say okay or move out of the way. I don't need words.
No, because I'm not going to say what Eric wants me to say.
There we go. So let's move on. Let's move on, because I know I don't have you.
Eric
right.
Listening. So Eric, this is what we'll do, or this is what I would like to do. If you're with me, we'll get on the Black Action Network today. He's on every day, and we'll address that issue. Al, you got that sitter in Newark, and it ain't doing nothing. What's going on? How's that?
Okay.
Because Vincent ain't all about all the talk. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Tune in at 8 o'clock on the Black Action Network. I'm hoping I'm the first caller. And that sounds like one. And record it and put it on your show.
Okay, caller.
Call it for what it is. If we can speak truth to power to all the white people and be upset about the black people, then we should be able to speak truth to power to him. Ow, you're not doing
Exactly.
Let's not stop. Let's stop.
I'll stop this screen as callers.
Thank you.
Let me
Wait a minute, because I want to ask Vincent. Vincent, have you ever called Al Sharpton's show?
Yeah, lots of times.
Right, no. And so do you understand that he screens callers?
Yeah,
there we go. And so when I say to you for 4 years or 5 years, I've been battling this thing, right? That's near and dear to me. Near and dear to me, especially when we talk about artificial intelligence and need for our kids to get involved in programming and all of that other kind of stuff. I see a well-functioning programming program operating in Newark that is underfunded, right? That the local government and Al Sharpton and the rest of those guys are pilfering from, won't be involved with, and they're propping up this thing that doesn't work. You go in there every day, there's nobody in there. But look at his budget, right? And so I've called, I've done those things. Those things don't work. But they keep propping them up, right? And they keep convincing people like you that Al Sharpton deserves to be on MSNBC with that time talking about how he loved black folk.
See, now here again, Eric, this is where we're going to differ. Because I could care less about Al Sharpton, and I've never seen him on MSNBC. Okay? Now, I do listen when I'm traveling to his radio program. So you're not convincing people like me.
Well, let me just say something about the corporate media that, because they're talking about black issues, they're only talking about these issues in a way to calm people. And they're only putting on what is profitable for them. And they're only putting on corporatists and opportunists that will speak their language and deliver their message to the sheep. And if a good sheep herder come along that they can bring on and he won't ruffle no feathers of the bird, of the eagle, then that's what it's all about. It's not about us having equal opportunity, because to them, one person in the room is equal. We got to stop going for the equal opportunity line, because and they'll harm all of us by taking one person into the room. And that one person, and once the door closed, you don't know what's said, but they pick that person because he's a corporate. The corporate media is only about the bottom line. And that's it.
I agree with that, and I agree that there is a disproportionate black representation, and then I agree that they are selective with the blacks that they use to represent. However, what I don't agree with is the people that they do select and how they come in and they bow down to the actual man and his commands and his narrative rather than telling the truth, because that's a disservice to the black community. Now, there are a lot of other media outlets, because if you look at it, a majority of the black viewers don't watch mainstream white media. So, what else they watch? Well, they seem to be getting a lot of information from social media.
Well, this got a valid point, because when the news hour was on BET and the news came on, the ratings would drop like a ton of bricks. But as soon as they put the video back on,
they would go to the white media. They wouldn't go to the black media.
No, I'm not saying where they go. I'm saying that they wasn't. Maybe older generations watch.
Right. Okay, fair enough.
Younger people that was tuning into video channel, they want the video. So in a way, but they gotta put it in. But when they started with all of the different comedians delivering the news, then that picked back up. People started watching the news. So it's the delicate thing
delivering news in a way that can hold people's attention, because people's attention spans are very short.
You are absolutely right.
So let me ask you guys a question. Do you guys remember Melissa Harris Perry?
Yeah.
No.
Right. She was fired from right. She was fired from MSNBC. Right.
Right.
Right. See, she was one of those voices that they didn't want. She's one of those. I'm sorry.
Hey, girl, how you doing?
Hey, Eric, you gotta mute your phone. Eric. Eric Dixon. Yeah. Yeah. But she was. So this is what I'm saying. So she wasn't palatable, right? The things that she was talking about didn't kind of fit their narrative, right?
Okay.
And then she said to them in a memo, "I'm not your mammy doll. You're not going to use me."
Yeah, that's when they got rid of them.
And that's when they got rid of her. That's right. So this is what I'm saying. So so again, that's normal, right? It's normal for them to do that because they say this is our network. We want to drive certain messaging. And for us to believe in any way, and this is very dangerous, for us to believe at any time that they have our best interests at heart is dangerous for us. They never do.
Okay. At the same time, we hold on, Richard, but at the very same time, our viewers, we're not, as consumers, we're not able to flex in a way that can have Mrs. Harrison back. It's, as consumers of the news, you want to have, no, you can't just fire her, you got to bring her back. If you don't have that, they're not going to hear what you said to what you're saying. But go ahead,
And back to 2 points. First, you are right, because when they canceled that show, that show Designer Women, a group of 4 white women, and the consumer got on board, started sending all of those letters and phone calls, and they brought it back. And we do not do that. Now, and to go with your other point and say that they don't go with the other point and saying that they don't have our best interests in heart, yet you actually stated that Al Sharpton, a black man, he, according to your definition, he doesn't have our best interests at heart either.
No, he doesn't.
We trust.
No, that's my point.
Let me interject. Do you guys remember when Arsenio Hall had like the #1 rated night show in America, blah, 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 for a few years? And then who did he have on?
Farrakhan.
Louis Farrakhan. Do you know they interrupted the show and he did not go back on the air after that?
They destroyed his career.
Remember that?
No, it's more than that. They
let him have the show. They told him beforehand, if you have the show, your career is over.
Yeah, not just his show, his career.
What they did do was they took him off the show. They took the show off, and then they brought him back, and then they brought him back as the executive producer or owner of the show.
Yeah, but his brand was ruined at that point. He was done. Like, the white supremacy said, "Oh no, you fucked up, shoot. Oh, I'm sorry, you messed up, sir. We're not dealing with that no more." And he never caught traction again.
No, let's look at the simple fact of the media happening, and it happens a lot. Nick Cannon is dealing with the same thing. Flip Wilson had that issue. Red Fox had that same issue. And what I've been
How many prevalent white people had that issue? No. Hold on. Nick, don't compare Nick Cannon to Farrakhan.
Thank you, Mike.
Nick Cannon on his podcast said some things where Arsenio was warned up front. Like, no, don't you bring him on. But Arsenio, like you said, owned the show. And Arsenio brought him on anyway. So, but Nick Cannon got down on his knees and got back on the air. But go ahead.
and what I've been saying, and what I'm saying then is the same thing I'm saying now. Listen, right now, mainstream media is a dinosaur.
dinosaur. And there are other media outlets that can use the solid black voice with the solid content to hit the black people and still be profitable. So what we need to do is now get off of our knees and stand on our feet.
So wait a minute. So let's have that conversation because that's because none of that is true.
And Eric,
Wait a minute.
You know this.
Wait a
I was sitting in front of him wrestling with a very lucrative syndicated contract.
So wait a minute.
And I turned it down because they want to control the content.
Wait a minute. So I'm not saying that you. I'm saying that what they do is they put hurdles in front of you, right? So, and we've had this conversation about social media because look, the corporation understands what's happening. They understand that cable and all that stuff is going the way of the dinosaur, right? And so in the midst of that happening, they're saying, well, how do we retool this thing so that we maintain control, right?
And black people on it.
What?
We get black people on it.
No,
if it wasn't for black people, there would be no CW network, or at that time it was called UPN. There would be no Fox. Because black people are the ones that actually saved those stations. They came up with shows, Living Single and Living Color, The Weigh-In Show. What was the other black shows that were going on? Moesha, et cetera, that built that network. And now, once they got their ratings back up, bye-bye black people. So, no.
Can I just say something real quick, then I'm going to get up out of here. I don't think media is I don't think that the news media is going anywhere. I think people are more that the environment is more hostile to humans, and humans are the going the way of the dinosaur, which will take out, if they don't have no filters, then that's the problem. But unless people pick their head up from grazing, being herded from one channel to another and start acting in a way thinking people would do, the news media is going to be around because they control the mind. They control the minds of the people. They can get people to do exactly what they want, when they want, and how they want. So I don't think the news media is going nowhere.
And to answer your point, here's the biggest problem that I see my wife in teaching second graders. The biggest problem that my wife has in teaching second graders is teaching them how to think. Now, you give them instructions and they're good with it, but actually give them something where they have to use cognitive theories in terms of thinking. This is a struggle for her. And that's what we are conditioned to. Part of the black condition is that a majority of them are not taught to think. They're taught to follow directions. They are taught to be the commodity. That's the big issue that we run into. And that narrative keeps driving in terms of us advancing. No, you're not taught to be a CEO. You're taught to be an employee. And we have to get out of that mindset. We have to get into more of a sustainable mindset of black people supporting black people, a sustainable mindset of black people supporting black people who are advancing, and a sustainable mindset of black people actually speaking truth to power in their profession. Now, tell me if I'm saying anything wrong.
Well, no, I think that we do need to try to get to all of those things, right? But we have to be realistic about all the obstacles that are in our way, right? We have to be realistic about the fact that there are forces that are operating, that then their sole purpose is to work in complete opposition to everything that you just talked about. Right? That we're not on this playing field, just given the opportunity to go and advance ourselves the way that you're talking about. But there is a system in place.
There is.
That is actively right. And in the things that we see that the manifestation of it that we don't look at them as anomalies, right? We look at them as normal under this system, right? Normal
Yes.
under this system. And so in order to end them, it's not about cherry picking or looking at the individual instances. It's about saying we've got to tear down the system, right?
Eric,
Yep.
yeah. Can I interject one thing in terms of the roadblocks that are in place? We have always had those. We have always found a way to overcome it. When I go into the prison ministry, and one of the things that I do on a monthly basis is express to these men, what stops you from getting into prison? Nothing. Nothing stops you. With all the roadblocks of preventing you from doing the crime, you still continued on with the act of doing the crime. So if nothing could stop you in doing something wrong, tell me, what will you let stop you in doing something right?
Right. So, okay, that's
Okay,
re-
look. So let's be honest, right? Just because the body is black doesn't make it black, right? So
Yeah, I say that when I hear Candace Owens.
is not all of a sudden I'm going to switch from mainstream media and start looking for black voices because that body's black doesn't quite make it black. What if Vincent started a show tomorrow, right? And he was on mainstream media. He would be on TV talking about Joe Biden's, saving the soul of America. Is that what I want to see? No. I don't think that the answer is that it's just black, right? But that are we looking for justice in this country, right? So that we start looking and calling and holding people responsible for their lack of authenticity and being honest, no matter what that color is, because black just doesn't make it right, does it?
Well, Jody, Vincent has a show on on that streams, and not only do we have Vincent's point of view, which has more of a moderate tone, we also have Eric's point of view, which can be sometimes, as we all know, very radical. Yet I give people the opportunity to get the information to form the opinion for themselves. You don't have to follow Vincent Squire because he's Vincent Squire, nor do you have to follow Eric Dawson because he's Eric Dawson. But we are giving you, in fact, I even have on the show a rabbi, an imam, and a pastor.
right. So I want to start off by saying I'm always
it's the simple point of giving people the information and letting them make the decision that best fits them.
right.
And so that's the point, right? And that's my problem, right? I don't want because those are your opinions, right? That's an opinion show, right? With Vincent thinks and Vincent's theories, right? Which is just getting, in my opinion, which is just getting us looped up into some more. I might as well watch MSNBC, right? And watch all Al Sharpton's opinions, right? And Al Sharpton's theory. I think that is the problem. Sometimes I feel like it's too much damn media, and everybody can get a show. Everybody thinks that they should be spewing the information out. Everybody's now a newscaster, and I looked at a show the other day. I won't say that show, and I'm looking at it on Rewind, right? And I'm watching 3 or 4 black men talk about the insurrection, and I'm watching a black man say that black people are weak, and that what they did was great, and that just land-based in black people, because that was his theory, right? As twisted and sad, but that's what he felt, right? Because he thinks that he should be spewing information to the masses. And that's the problem. Everybody shouldn't be spewing information to the masses. It gets bungled up, right? I don't want to hear certain things. I just want to hear facts, right? So I'm a fact-based girl. I like data. I like numbers. I like stats, right? I like proof. I like factual, and that is what I'm running for. Like, I listen to this show because I'm connected to it in my way, right? So I listen to the Eric Dawson show because I know Eric Dawson. So there's a connection there, right? And I, in large part, agree with Eric Dawson, right? So I listen to his show. If I don't agree with something that I hear on this show, or you say something that is not actual, I pull up the information and I fact check you as I go along. The only difference is I don't get the fact check people on MSNBC. But when they spew false information, I call that what it is, right? I don't listen to just MSNBC. All I'm saying is I don't think the answer is changing our media screen. I think the answer is fixing the problems, holding those people accountable, holding anyone accountable, no matter what their color is. If they're spewing information that leads our people down a path that isn't progressive in its nature. And so I just don't believe that's the answer. I don't believe the answer would be Eric calling the Al Sharpton show. Eric Dawson, once they say Eric Dawson's on hold, he's already been flagged. Right? You're not even getting through the queue.
Right.
Because he's already been flagged. That was just like another way of watering down what that conversation was. And then we turned into some other conversation because it killed that conversation, which was an important conversation, which is the problem with people who feel like their opinion is just that important, or that they have something that should be said to the masses of people. And I think that's one of our greatest problems in our community, is that we just still listening to the wrong people. Is that the problem? No. If your messaging, right, doesn't include that Joe Biden is a part of the corporation of white supremacy, then your message is garbage. And so
this is where we differ, Jody, because that is your message. Okay, that's not Vincent Squire's message, or it's not Eric's message, or Big Will's message. That is Jody's message and her opinion. And you know what? You are fine and welcome to it. But yet there is a level of maturity to understand that, at some point in time you have to agree that you disagree. And you have to move on and let other outlets give people some more seeds to plant to get to the truth of the point. Now, one of the things that we have to do, okay, is understand that we are not monolithic. We will probably never be monolithic. But there is one commonality that we have. We have all experienced a level of oppression. We have all experienced a level of racism. We have all experienced a level of prejudice. And we've all experienced...
And that makes it monolithic.
And we've all experienced...
Exactly. Thank you, Eric.
And we've all experienced someone of another race prospering from our oppression. But yet, yes, and it's true. We need to now come together at certain points in times so that we can fight to end it. But we don't, because we keep getting locked up in the semantics and the opinion.
No. You're missing it, Vincent. Wait. Stop for a second. So you're missing it, right? So firstly, I don't know if you heard what Eric said. He said, so that makes us monolithic, right? All the things you just mentioned that we share, right? But beyond that, when you say we don't come together because of these things, yesterday we talked about the FBI's involvement in the assassination of Malcolm X, right? We talked about the government's involvement in infiltrating the Black Panther Party, right? We talked and demonizing Huey Newton and other members of the Black Panther Party, right? We talked about the government's involvement in the assassination of Martin Luther King, right? We talk about the government's involvement in demonizing, criminalizing, and radicalizing other black people. But that's not what you just said. You said, oh, we don't come together because of something else. And what I'm saying to you is there's a system that is operating against our best interests.
It's the system, man. They done against us, man. We can't fight the system, yet we do.
Wow. You know, and that was very sad. Like,
that watering down again.
there's that watering down again. That's exactly. No, that's exactly what it was. Wait, Eric. I want to call that exactly what it was. It was
I agree with that, Eric.
It was what Vincent did was a distraction, and it was a watering down of a fact.
Absolutely.
Right? A fact.
Here is the fact, Eric. You are absolutely right.
Right.
That there are systems in place to hold you down, to oppress you. And like I tell them, there are always roadblocks and things that people will use to try to stop you. It is their job to do it. It's your job to not let them do it.
No, I understand that. I don't think that
But see, some people use that as a crutch to not do, or to not make an attempt at doing, or to not accomplish, because they believe that the system's going to get me.
Right, and I'm going to go back to quoting Dr. King, and I hope you don't make fun of him, right, when he said that it is cruel to ask a bootless man to lift himself up by his bootstraps, right? And so the system, that's the system that he talked about, right? And the idea of, well, according to Vincent, we should be just lifting ourselves up, right? We should, and so Dr. King said, well, if we understand the system, if we really appreciate the intricacies and the devious nature and the power of the system, then we will recalibrate our thinking to say it is cruel to ask that bootless man to lift himself up by his bootstraps.
Let me quote because he did address me. Let me quote W.E.B. Du Bois. You know, sometimes we could use a little less legislation and a lot more energy and efforts to accomplish and to get the things and the resources that we need.
Don't take him out of context, though, Vincent.
Exactly.
Don't take him out of. See, Vincent. Wait a minute, Vincent.
What about Black Wall Street?
So what those upstanding people? I said that to say this. Yes, it is cruel to tell a bootless man to pull himself up by the bootstraps. But yes, it's also cruel it's also insulting the intelligence to say that a bootless man using some ingenuity, creativity, or some exercise, the ability to get boots.
Hey, Eric, I'm going to go back to it, righty? Whack.
And in 1923, when we had the first race riot, right, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, those people circulated their money in their own community that they owned 50 times before the money even left the community. What did white supremacy do? They besieged the town, they killed the people with the most money, and they took Tulsa over. Tulsa's no longer a black bastion of opportunity, so on and so forth. Right now, it's part of the white supremacist system. Okay, so we have had instances in our past where these people weren't super educated; they were ex-slaves, but they started a community that benefited them and their kids and their posterity, and it was taken from them by force, by the military. So you can say all day, well, we can use our talent, God-given talents, and, we can come together and all of that. We've done that.
Right.
Numerous times. But white supremacy kills it every single time
right.
it raises its
right.
head.
And so the boots.
Well, here is the truth. The first actual corporation of white supremacy was not Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was Wilmington, North Carolina, November 10th.
No, I said first race riot.
Okay, it was a race riot where, at that particular time, blacks voted at a 74%. black and what they call the infusion, or which was black and Jew together, or allies as they call them today, basically ran that section. They've had black businesses, 300-room hotels. They've had shipping ports. They had entertainment. It was a predominantly black rule and owned society. And they came in and came in with some members of the National Guard and the military, the same thing with the last insurrection that we had, and took it over. They said that the ocean ran red with blood of those who opposed the whites.
Right. So
here's my issue, right? What was his point in this, right? What was that, like?
Here is the point.
Reflection, and I'm gonna throw something on it. Like I'm teaching you poor black folks some information. What does that have to do, or how is that the response to what Mr. Dixon said, right? You went up in that information because his only point was to say that it doesn't really matter. We've had instances where we pulled ourselves up by the bootstraps, but we were doing it to work. And what did that corporation do? So your point is like, who cares about you having another example of it? The point was the example, right? That's what happened. So I don't get either you are out of trying to distract us from the message, right? The message for your very insidious.
can I ask you a question?
See, and the reason that you don't get it is because you are so hell-bent and focusing on demonizing every word that comes out of my mouth.
Can I ask you a question?
No. Please let me finish. Okay? Here it is, Jody, because you are so busy and dissecting and
can I ask you a question?
To be not what I said. You will never get it.
Can I ask you a question?
And here it is, Jody.
Hello? I'm resetting the room. Hello?
You could spend.
Can I ask you a question? So here's a question that I have. Wait a minute. Here's a question I have. What do we believe that Dr. King was referring to as bootstraps? Or boots, rather. What were the boots when he said a bootless man? What were the boots? I got my theory, but I wanna know what your theory is about the boots. What were the boots?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of those without any known resources.
Yeah, what I think the boots were, and still are, is a lack of government and policy, right, to support us. And so when Eric Dixon, wait a minute, let me finish.
No, just quick question. Well, as you continue on, because I need a little clarity. What you just said, would that not be considered a resource?
Well, I mean, depends on what you call a resource. Yes, it is a resource. But let me finish my point, right? Okay. Because I'm trying to be specific, not broad in it. So when Eric talks about these instances, or when you, Vincent, talk about these instances, at the end of the day, they were all thwarted because we had no boots, right? And so by government and policy, right, that they were always on the side of the corporation white supremacy. And so irrespective of what we try to do, so when you say, well, we should be trying these things, I don't think anybody is suggesting that we should just be lazing around, right? And I think that is a stereotype, right? That folks have used to characterize us and saying, well, this is why you haven't achieved, because you haven't been trying. And what I'm saying is that no, black folks been trying, right? But again, back to what's normal. What normalcy is that those who have the boots, right, the laws, the government, the whatever, keep denying us of these boots, yet we're being told to pick ourselves up by those straps. So the instances, and so if you agree with that, and I don't know if you do, it is again about a system, right? It's about a system. And so then you get to the point where you go, well, all right, if I agree with what was just said, irrespective of what we try, until we tear the system down, please mute your phone. Irrespective of what we try, until we blow the system up, right? We'll have instance after instance where, you know, will sit back, or our great grandchildren will sit back and talk about these instances where in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or over here, you know, there were some black folks who tried to do something and then it was thwarted by this, and then and then they tried over here and it was thwarted by this, and then what we don't focus on is what thwarted it, right? That system. That, and until we tear that system down, right, we're going to build up, and somebody's going to come over and kick down our sandcastle again. We got to tear it down, right? And it is normal. So what is also normal, right, is that we work to try to do this, but the corporation of white supremacy, right, has an undefeated record, right, based on the fact that they're marching in this army with boots and we're bootless. So, and again, so that, whether we talk about those instances, and again, we look at them as instances, right? Well, over here, and over there, and over there, and we don't look systemically at it all and realize why it failed and why it'll fail again.
And here is the actual point. The 1920s incident was a remake, and they used the exact same mechanics that they did in 1890s. Now, what I'm saying is this.
Who's they?
The corporation of white supremacy.
Okay, I just want to be clear.
Because of the advancement of the people in which they deemed to be beneath them. Okay? Now, what those incidents did, and the same mechanics was this. We came up with
That's a quote from the book. That's a quote from the book. Nice.
Now, the quote from the book, the quote that I was going to use from the book is that my people perish for lack of knowledge. And we have gotten to the point now where we've come into so much lack of knowledge that we have a group of young black people who don't realize that the struggle still exists. We have
I think that we are uniquely qualified to call the argument what it is, quite frankly, because who else has it been but us and our forefathers that Americans' idea was formulated on? You think about that. We're the real true Americans here, all right? And we're fighting against a money conglomerate that is holding us back because they need us to operate, all right? We're a money object in the beginning. We're still a money object. I said that the last time on the show.
A commodity to their wealth and to their power.
If we put our money together like they did in Tulsa and Freedomtown and all these other places, then we will have the power to be able to dictate our own direction. Even in the fact that, think about it, we're the 7th largest gross national product on the planet. African Americans alone. Like, I mean, we are, right there. We just have to put ourselves together so that we can take advantage of it. But what's stopping that? White supremacy has always been behind it.
I can answer to you perfectly what stops that. Because, yes, we are a very large consumer. African Americans have spent, $1.8 billion in 2019 to 2020. Yet, this is why we don't do it. It's part of the Willie Lynch letter. We are so pitted against each other and so pitted against one succeeding over us that we don't use our collective resources to advance our people. Blacks spend an average of, their money circulates, or they spend an average of, out of the month, 600 minutes in the white community. Right. They spend an average of 79 minutes a month ordering online. White businesses. They spend an average of 18 minutes in the Jewish communities, and they spend an average of 9.5 minutes.
Right, but Vincent, but my fear is that But my fear is
We
that
cannot advance, or it's hard for us to advance because our own people will not support us.
right, but Vincent, but see, and then what you just said at the end just substantiated what I was getting ready to say before you said it. I think you used the Willie Lynch letter as a like a footnote, right? As opposed to discussing it with the level um, of what's the word I'm looking for? As opposed to talking about the level of impact that it has. It's like this little footnote, like, well, yeah, I'm going to quote this out of the Willie Lynch letter, and then I'm going to still blame these people over here, right? And I'm saying to you that if you
No, I
recognize,
use the Willie Lynch letter as a level of expressing the origin of the divide and how it came. And I use today as the simple way of saying that mechanics still exist in our mindsets.
okay, no, well,
So that means white supremacy. That means that white supremacy is alive and well.
well, wait a minute,
and
Eric,
operating against you directly.
Eric,
Right
and
now,
wait a
as we
minute,
speak
wait a
on
minute,
the
and wait a
radio
minute,
station.
wait a minute. So
Right
let
now.
let us look at let us
You
look
are
at
absolutely
wait
correct.
1 second.
And it's-
Wait,
and the simple
Vincent,
fact is this, and the simple fact is
Vincent,
this,
can you hear
in
me?
terms of- okay, I'm sorry, Eric. Were
Yeah.
you saying something?
Yeah. So what I'm saying to you is this: it doesn't just exist in our mind, right? So you said it's our mindset. I'm saying it is it is a living, breathing document by which, right, those who are part of the upper caste are still using it, right, to maintain their status and to keep us where we are, right? And so that's still happening. That's how I started the show talking about like that's why it's normal, right? This is the normal. This is what we can expect because this thing is living and breathing, hasn't been torn down. And so in the middle of this war of wills and minds and all of this stuff, it is oh well, black people should just do X and Y. And I'm like, but we got to look at the battlefield. We have to look at the arms that have been taken up against us, right? The media and all these other kinds of things. And I'm not saying that we lay down our arms and we just give up. I'm just saying let's recognize the true nature of the fight. And it's not as simple as, well, oh, just go do this thing.
Okay, now what I was saying in terms of this, and I agree with what
Can I interject in that, please?
Can I finish?
Yeah, hey Eric, let
Then you can interject.
yeah, let Vincent finish his thought.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks.
What I was saying to you is this, and you are right. Yes, those things are in place. But what I have seen, not what I am theorizing, but what I have seen is that a majority of the time is the simple fact that those mechanics were in place at this particular point in time. And and some of the people use that metrics of failure because it's not the white man projecting that upon them. It's the black man who's using that same mindset and still operating in that same status. Or case in point, the elephant who is being held by a little peg and a thin rope because he has been conditioned so much that they don't have to put the big chain on him. He has been conditioned so much that he will stay in place just with a little rope.
Yep.
And that's what it
All
is.
right, and that makes sense, and I agree with that portion of it. But in the book, White Fragility, right now, it also says that we are not going to be able to do this by ourselves. White people or white supremacists or the power structure or whatever you want to call it has to acquiesce that position. And let's face it, who in the world today is going to acquiesce being on top? And they don't want to have the conversation because they know that's where the conversation leads. Thus, the book White Fragility says that. I mean, so we can sit here all day and theorize about whatever we want to theorize. But until we get to the point when we get them to understand that, hey, look, you are the issue here, and you're the reason why we are where we are, then, we'll sit here and theorize.
Right.
But
And
we
that's
have to figure out a way to make them see the fragility of the situation. And guess what? maybe we could have that conversation.
Right.
But until the conversation has to be had.
And that part is true. However, and nothing more is an example to us in my generation than the insurrection on the Capitol building. It was the simple fact. And then you also have to realize this. We have, as you say, we can't do it by ourselves. We have never done it by ourselves. We have always had white allies. So to alienate, to generalize that all white people are the devil is not true. Yet
how effective have our allies been?
Very effective. You see,
how do you figure that?
See, the beauty, it's very effective. See, one of the things with the Civil Rights March and the
they have been very effective.
If I could finish, the effectiveness of the Civil Rights March and the Black Lives Matter March is this. There were more white people out there marching and protesting than there were blacks. So
right.
they were very cautious at committing injustice and brutal harm on them in terms of when they did the black marches where they were majority black. That's where all the
but when the fire hoses came and the dogs came and the batons came, they weren't directing them at those white folks.
Correct.
They were directing them at our people.
Correct.
So, I mean, again, my only point...
But here was the thing. When the
I'm not saying that they were abolitionists while our parents were enslaved. They helped us. Don't get me wrong. I think they are angels sent to us in that instance. But let's face it, bro. They have not been successful in helping us in our battle at all. Because white supremacy is stronger now, which you just proved. You just proved it by saying we don't need change anymore.
Right. I'm going to read this out of...
So good. They don't even need change.
Wait a minute, Eric. I'm going to read this from White Fragility. I'm going to read this again, and then I'll let you guys close it out with the next 2 minutes.
I got to go. I got a class to teach.
All right, brother.
So, listen, guys, I love you. It's been a great conversation. So be safe, be blessed.
You too,
guys,
Vincent.
I'll join you guys Thursday.
Absolutely.
We're off Wednesday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vincent.
And when I say I love you, that includes you, Jody.
Go ahead, Eric.
So it says, I'm going to read this from the book. It says, as opinionated as many white people are, and now I added this part, including and especially those in government and mainstream media on race, this is back to the book now, their opinions are for the most part uninformed and ignorant. Now, if we start, it says, and this is the reason why she says that this is the case. There is nothing in U.S. mainstream culture that gives them the information needed to have a nuanced understanding of arguably the most complex and enduring social dynamic of the last several hundred years. However, because they have been groomed by America's social hierarchical structure to believe that they are dominant, they must be wiser. Therefore, they must know and be able to lecture everyone on race, racism, and the solutions. When they are engaged in an open and honest discussion about race, white fragility quickly emerges and is usually evidenced by their silence, defensiveness, argumentation, certitude, and other forms of pushback. These are all social forces intended to prevent us from obtaining the knowledge needed in order to engage more productively. These powerful forces function to hold the racial hierarchy in place. And what I'm saying to you is this. When we watch the news and we see, or we don't see rather, the people who should be there talking about this, but rather see the same people who were suppressing it before, right now all of a sudden talking about it, right? Not really having the ability to discuss the nuances of it, we should be concerned. But instead, we find some comfort in saying, well, at least they're talking about it now. It's scary. Very scary.
Right. No. The conversation has to be had, because if it doesn't, guess what? The paradigm will remain the same.
So yeah, we've been trying to have the conversation through, us being brutalized as a people over 400 years. And we're still having the same conversation with the same arguments, with the same responses to our arguments. So that would tell somebody with any type of grasp or mind on the situation, saying, look, that's not working.
Right.
We have to have the conversation. We have to have Congress. We have to have the Senate. We have to have every arm of the government focused on that. Why? Because it'll never change the paradigm unless we do that.
But this is why I'm gonna tell you. But
police can walk up to me right now. I'm sitting by the park, pull me out my car, brutalize me, and then get away with it. Based on some white supremacy, basically.
But I'm gonna tell you, the person who
I go home beat up, I go to jail because he is misinformed about me sitting here at the side of the park. That's not fair to me.
Look,
I don't feel like I have, as a man, the same opportunities, rights, gratuities, whatever you want to call it, as that guy sitting up there in his car who's white, and probably would never be a cop.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell you.
I mean, until they are going to be willing and, let's say, fair to actually have the conversation on why white supremacy is holding our people down, then it's not going to change. The paradigm's going to remain the same. So I think what we're doing now, by having a conversation amongst ourselves, we can see what the different mindsets of different African Americans are, and hopefully we're guiding those minds and those people towards having the conversation honestly. Yeah. All right, and I think we're having an honest conversation here, and I think it was worth it, quite frankly.
Yeah. So, look, the person during the last election that was having the most honest conversation about this, to me, again, was Marianne Williamson, right?
Okay.
She was having the most honest conversation, saying we can't even talk about any of this until we deal with the moral turbulence that that this country is facing, and I believe that. So having these conversations about equitability or equality or restorative justice, right, without like really laser focused on these things that we talk about here, I think it's an act of futility. Listen, I'm off tomorrow. But we'll be back on.
Wow.
We'll be back on Thursday. So enjoy your day, guys. And like I said, starting tomorrow, we're gonna have a little heat wave here up in the Northeast. So I'm excited.
So enjoy it.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Speak to you all soon. Hey E, give me a call, man. I want to talk to you about something. All right.
I will.
Yeah, give me a call later.
Day, guys.
Love you.